How's it going, everybody? It is the Next Wrestling Talk Show, back for episode 3 with Red Scorpion as your host and X Deadlies as your other host. And we are here for Fastlane results to talk about Raw and SmackDown also on the side. And our predictions for WrestleMania. Or is that too early?
We'll get to that.
We'll get to that. We'll get to that. I'm not too sure, but we'll get to that.
Stick around.
Stick around, and we'll be right back. See you guys after the thing.
Welcome back, guys, and this is the third edition of the Next Level Wrestling Talk Show with X Deadlies and Red Scorpion. And we had Fastlane happen just recently on the 10th of March. It's also St. Paddy's Day weekend, hence the green everywhere, DX. And you break the rules, we'll break, or you make the rules, we'll break them, whatever. Anyways, Fastlane, Daniel Bryan versus Mustafa Ali versus Kevin Owens for the WWE Championship. Daniel Bryan retains over Mustafa Ali. We thought Kofi Kingston was going to be in the match. McMahon said that he was going to make it a three-way match. Instead, he sent Kofi to the ring to fight the Bar in a handicap match. They squashed him. I'm sure they're building up to something. I know they're building up to something with that. Usos defend the tag team title successfully over Shane and The Miz. Shane turns on The Miz. It was a surprise. We'll get to that in a little bit. Asuka defends the SmackDown Women's Championship against Mandy Rose successfully. Sasha and Bayley successfully defend the tag team titles against Nia Jax and Tamina. Interesting thing with Beth Phoenix at ringside that happened. She was on commentary at the time. We'll get to that as well. Becky Lynch enters the Raw Women's Championship match at WrestleMania, beating Charlotte via DQ when Ronda Rousey comes down and punches her square in the face to add her to the match. The Shield successfully reunite and return to win over McIntyre, Lashley, and Corbin. Great match. Ricochet, Aleister Black versus Bobby Roode, Chad Gable versus the Revival for the tag team titles. And the Revival successfully defend the championships. It was a great match, actually. R-Truth defends his United States Championship against Andrade, Rey Mysterio, and Samoa Joe. Joe finally wins the WWE Championship. It was a great match. A tough loss for the Truth. But what was the most standy-outy thing about this pay-per-view to you?
Shoot, honestly, if I were to be honest, it would be Samoa Joe winning the championship. You know, it's been a while since we've seen something from him, championship-wise, or even had a shot at it.
Well, yeah, he's the only. You know, I mean, he's had some championships, but only shots. But the only title he's won in WWE was NXT, and that wasn't technically WWE yet.
Exactly. So it's definitely cool and fresh to see some new people get some championship belts and see what they could do if they can defend it. You know.
I think
stuff like that.
Yeah, I agree, but I think for me it was the shocking turn of Shane McMahon on The Miz. Now, I thought totally they were building this up for The Miz to turn on Shane the whole time. I think that's what everyone was thinking because that's just how The Miz is. But they flip-flopped it on us and they turned Shane on Miz. So that was interesting. I think they kept we were talking about Kevin Owens having the legitimacy of coming back and losing a championship match. It just didn't make any sense. So in order to make Kevin Owens legit and keep Daniel Bryan with the championship, they brought Mustafa Ali back, put him in the match, and had him take the fall. So I think that was interesting. I also thought Becky Lynch taking the shot to the face by Ronda just flat out just to enter the match was a great way to do that. So interesting pay-per-view. I like I say, with the Kofi Kingston thing, I still think that there's going to be something going on with him. We'll find out when we get to our SmackDown results here. Other than that, the pay-per-view was a great pay-per-view. Definitely dug it. Let's get right into Raw, though. The Shield had their final address on Raw, which is going to be the final Shield moment with Dean Ambrose involved, as he's going to not renew, apparently, his contract with WWE. It runs out in April. Then how about Lashley beating Finn Balor for the Intercontinental title? Did you see that one coming at all?
I mean, to be honest, I knew that somewhere in there they're going to have Leo Rush come in, I felt like, because he wasn't there for a minute. So, I mean, I felt like, obviously, he could have gotten in at any time. But for what he did, it was kind of a little different. But I definitely did not expect that happening at all. I thought Finn Balor was definitely going to...
I definitely don't think... I don't think this is the end of this feud at all. Finn was great with the Intercontinental title. They're doing whatever they can to keep Lashley relevant, in my opinion. So... I think that's the main reason for that. Okay, so Beth Phoenix was entered into the tag team title match the previous night on Fastlane when the girls attacked her, and that being Tamina and Nia. And we were talking about how Beth Phoenix was the Amazon or the Glamazon of the women's division back in the day, and now that title is pretty much held by Tamina. Now she's pretty much, look, this is who I am, and like it or don't, I don't care. So Beth Phoenix comes out to back up Natty on Raw. What do you think about this angle? It's been a while since we've seen Beth Phoenix. We both were kind of out of wrestling during the time that Beth Phoenix was running Ramshot in the WWE. She entered the Men's Royal Rumble. She had some matches or an interesting angle with the Great Khali. She was a tag team with Natty for most of her career. What do you think about this angle? You think it's pretty cool, or do you not like it? What's up?
I kind of dig it. It's always good to see how people, since they wrestled for so long, to see them like come back for a little bit. And I always love to see someone like that to do something like that, like Rey Mysterio, for example, or Randy Orton's still doing it. So I guess him, for example, Undertaker. Just them still to see them with these new like fresh faces in this new generation, and to see them go against other people. Same thing with the NXT call-ups, by the way, but we'll get to that later. That's different story. But with that said, I do enjoy it. I dig it. I think it'll be pretty interesting to see them go against each other, and see can't wait to see what's next for them.
Well, what I like about it the most, I think, is just the relevance of them still being at a young age. Your Trish, your Lita, your Beth.
Definitely.
In terms of the women, they can still go, and they have a lot left in them. So how about Drew McIntyre comes out and he attacks Roman Reigns, and they were going to have a big match. It was going to be Roman's first match back and a singles match, and Drew attacks him. So I think they're setting something up for Mania there. But then Dean Ambrose comes out to avenge his buddy, and they have this awesome street fight to close Raw. Dean and Drew do, and they just beat the hell out of each other, but Drew ends up winning the match.
On that one.
It's exciting. It's exciting because they're still making Dean relevant, but he's still doing the duties, paying his dues, and putting people over on his way out, which is respectable. But it's gonna be sad to see Dean go.
Definitely.
He'll probably bounce over to AEW. But the last thing I probably want to talk about is Kurt Angle's retirement match that he announced he's going to have at WrestleMania. We've seen a list of opponents that he could face. Undertaker, Drew McIntyre was thrown out there. John Cena.
Oh, yeah.
Chad Gable was one. Shelton Benjamin was one. Who do you think is going to fight Kurt Angle, and what do you think about this story?
I dig the story. It's kind of sad to see him go. Also, Kurt Angle. I've kind of always liked Kurt Angle, even as like a kid and everything.
Oh, yeah.
Not gonna lie, but even when he's a heel and everything, it's kind of I still kind of dig it. But I'm not too sure. It's kind of a toss up. Especially when you heard that John Cena could be in this. I'm not sure if that's confirmed or not, but. Undertaker, I think I've heard some things that he wasn't going to be there, so I'm not too sure about Undertaker, but definitely someone's there, maybe Shelton Benjamin or something like that, not too sure. Or unless Shelton Benjamin's going against Seth, but but with that said, I'm not too sure.
No, Seth's fighting Brock for the title.
Oh yeah, I forgot because last night when we watched Raw.
Yeah, Seth took on in Shelton, and that was a good match.
Yeah, it was.
But I mean, Shelton's an underused talent. Let's just cut to the chase real quick.
Oh, yeah.
Cut off the subject. But Shelton's a really, really good talent. And the fact that he's been underutilized right now, they moved from SmackDown to Raw. It's a shame because we were watching the old Royal Rumble or something like that, and back in the day, and he had blonde hair.
2007, I think, or 2006, somewhere.
And he was just he's so athletic, and he comes back now, and he's pretty much not really lost a step, and WWE just doesn't know what to do with him, and that sucks because, like you touched on, these stupid call-ups are happening, and they're just pushing guys like Shelton to the side, and it's kind of dumb. But anyway, so that'd be Kurt versus Shelton would be a great match. But anyways, let's jump over to SmackDown. One of the huge things was Shane McMahon coming out and talking about his turn on The Miz. How everybody wants something from Shane McMahon and the McMahon family. It's the first time Shane's really been heel since the Attitude Era and the corporation and all that kind of stuff. What do you think about this angle?
Oh, I'm honestly digging it. I want to see more. When someone's heel and they can really get into that character and get into that zone. I really dig it. I honestly enjoyed him coming to was it SmackDown he was on, right? I was almost gonna say Raw for a second.
Well, they go on both shows, but he had his interview. He opened up SmackDown with.
Yeah, with that was pretty interesting. I like that. It's definitely gonna be pretty different, to see him as a heel again, and I mean it's really interesting, and I cannot wait to see what he could do as a heel. There's a lot of opportunity for that because he really can get into that zone and really show.
Yeah, and they really
I really like it.
They pulled the wool over our eyes. We all thought Miz would be the one turning, so now Miz is the face, and I can't remember the last time Miz has been the face because it's been forever. Also, so they really flip flop these two, so that'll be interesting. Also, the Kofi angle. So Kofi Kingston wants to be added to the WWE Championship, or wants a shot at the WWE Championship. Sorry, we already know what happened at Fastlane, and then McMahon says, "Well, you can get a shot at the WWE Championship at Daniel Bryan if you beat everyone in the Gauntlet match, and everyone includes what it was at Rowan and." He just all these guys that came out, and I can't even. There's just so many of them. I think it was like 8 total that he has to fight next week in a gauntlet match just to get a shot. And here's the bottom line: I really think Kofi's he's gonna do it. I think he's gonna overcome the odds. Or even if he doesn't win the gauntlet match, I still see this match with Daniel Bryan happening at WrestleMania. And WWE is smart because they fed off of this Elimination Chamber because Kofi was last minute substitution. He came into the match. He was hot. People are still crazy about Kofi. He's been there forever, 11 years. So they really want to see him get his shot, and I really think WWE is going to do that. But they're waiting because they know when the money match is, and they know the money match is WrestleMania 35. So I see it coming. Yeah, too much of Ricochet and Aleister Black. Here they are again on SmackDown. These NXT call-ups. I love Ricochet. I love Aleister Black. They're great. They're great. Don't get me wrong. They're great NXT. They're going to be great someday in WWE. I don't agree with the NXT call-ups coming up and just whooping ass on all of the main roster, SmackDown and Raw. I mean, they've beaten the Raw Tag Team Champions, so they put them to hell, basically made them look like shit at this point. And then they come on SmackDown, and they're already like, they're relevant on SmackDown. It's like, pick a show, first of all, because if you're not in NXT anymore, you got to be on a show. And it's too much. And it sucks because these guys are so good, and you don't want to not like them, but you're getting fed too much of them. And just like Triple H back in the day, just like John Cena back in the day, just like Hulk Hogan back in the day, you got too much to where you just didn't want it.
Just like Brock Lesnar now.
Exactly, yeah, to the point. So, and then you got EC3 who comes out. He was a guy that I was telling you about. I think he's going to be a huge star. He comes out. They got this big thing going for him, vignettes, everything, backstage stuff. He comes out and he has this feud with Dean Ambrose for 2 matches. He loses, and we haven't seen him since. Well, he came back once and did a segment. And I'm like, here's another guy who could potentially be money for this company, and what's going on? And instead of feeding us guys like him, who it's his turn to shine, they advertise that he's coming up, and they feed us these guys that they really didn't advertise until last minute, and that's all we're getting. It's
like we always have opportunity, but they never see what they could do with that opportunity, and they never like put them out there enough. Like well, sometimes they do, but like just
the right
not
ones.
The right ones, exactly. Yeah, they just never put them in the position that they should be putting them in.
I mean,
sorry to cut you off, by the way.
No, I agree. No, it's the point. And the same thing with Lacey Evans. She comes out in her Mary Poppins outfit every week, and she comes out and she strolls down the aisle, and her stupid song plays. She was in the Royal Rumble. She had a great showing. Let the female do her job. She's a great wrestler. Let her come out and wrestle. Why are we doing this? What are we doing? What are we plugging her for? There's no reason to do this. Have her come out and beat someone's ass. Have her come out and challenge Asuka for the championship. Do something.
Exactly. It's not a runaway show. It's a wrestling show.
Yeah, and put them in a match. She has all this talent. So instead of utilizing her, I mean, we're just seeing her walk down every single week. It's just the way they're doing it is just it's unbelievable. And then Heavy Machinery, they come out, they go on each show, they show that they're relevant in the tag team division. They need to pick a show, but they're a great tag team. Put them on a show already. Let's just do it. Put them on a show. They deserve to be there. Anyways, let's also talk about the Hall of Fame really quick. The deserves or not deserves. Honky Tonk Man absolutely 100% deserves to be in there. This is a guy that I rolled with when I was young. You might not remember too much of him other than
I remember. I liked him.
We've been seeing him
cool.
on the network. Greatest Intercontinental Champion of all time. Great gimmick. He was a great character. He deserves to be there finally. Tori Wilson, I do not 100% agree with her being in the Hall of Fame. I just don't. Her accomplishments. She came a long ways from being Billy Kidman's manager to being a pro wrestler and doing the thing that she did. Don't get me wrong. She came over from WCW to WWE. She was a pioneer in that division at the time, for divas or whatever. But divas aren't wrestlers, in my opinion. So what she does isn't spectacular to me. So for her going into the Hall of Fame, a little bit disappointing to me. Harlem Heat, I'm excited because I heard the rumor that Heart Foundation was supposed to go in, and I was super stoked about that. But then Harlem Heat go in, and so that kind of drags me down. But then you look at it, and Harlem Heat, anyone who knows me knows that Harlem Heat was my favorite WCW tag team of all time. So there's no doubt about it. And Sister Sherry, 11 tag team title reigns I think they had in WCW, 10 or 11.
Something. Crazy.
So they absolutely 100% deserve to be in the Hall of Fame. It's kind of weird that we heard all these rumblings about the Hart Foundation and then Harlem Heat jump in there. So I'm excited, but I'm definitely excited.
If not now, then definitely they should put the Hart Foundation sometime.
At some
there.
point, yeah. So then that leaves us to D-Generation X. So here's why I don't think D-Generation X should go in. Number one, you look at DX and you look at NWO. Well, you look at all the factions that have been around. You look at those two factions in particular. NWO 100% should be in there as the group that revolutionized wrestling at the time. Hogan, Hall, Nash, absolutely 100% should be the ones going into the Hall of Fame before DX goes into the Hall of Fame. Because you look at DX and you look at those guys individually. China, first and foremost, I know this is the only way they felt like they can get China into the Hall of Fame, but first and foremost, she should have been in there 100 million% before Tori Wilson should have been in there as the female entrant into the Hall of Fame. 100% because of what she did for wrestling. There's no doubt about it. She should have went in. I don't care what she did on the side. Her contributions to wrestling were what they were. I was excited when she was in wrestling. She was revolutionary. She belongs in the Hall of Fame. X-Pac, 100% belongs in the Hall of Fame for what he did. Had some great matches along the way. He started out as a 1-2-3 kid. His gimmick, beat Razor Ramon, and then he came out as the underdog that could win matches sometimes. And he won titles, and then he was part of NWO, then he was part of DX, and he was huge for this business. He deserves to be in the Hall of Fame. New Age Outlaws deserve, 6-time tag team champions, deserve to be in the Hall of Fame for that recognition alone. I mean, they were also a huge part of DX, but they were great for the tag team division. They were great. They were great together, and they deserve to be in the Hall of Fame. Triple H, at some point, deserves to be in the Hall of Fame. So you could have had X-Pac go in as the first entrant, to open up the show. Then you had China as the woman entrant. Then you had New Age Outlaws as the tag team entrants. And then Triple H would have been the main event entrant for the Hall of Fame. You could have done that. DX really just did not, in my opinion, need to go in as a group. Not at this point anyways, because individually those guys and girls needed to go in individually before DX went in as a group, in my opinion.
I completely agree on that. I didn't also agree with Tori Wilson as much. I feel like before you put in a group individually, you should at least put them in there, especially for what they've done for the business and everything. So I completely agree on that. You've kind of said already what I would actually say. To be honest, I can just agree on everything, and I just feel like China should have her individual spot as a female, because she's done a lot for not just herself but for the business also. So
and they go hand in hand for herself and equals the business. And here's a guy missing from the Hall of Fame is the model Rick Martel. I mean, here's a guy who did everything he was asked to do. He's a former AWA champion, former tag team champion in WWE, former TV champion in WCW. He's done it all. And he is still not in the WWE Hall of Fame for whatever reason. I don't know if it has something to do with this concussion lawsuit and WWE's against those people that filed this lawsuit or whatever. I don't know if it has something to do with that or whatever, but there's some talent that needs to go in this Hall of Fame that isn't there. So that's pretty much going to wrap up our show. I know the next show we're going to have is going to be about our WrestleMania predictions, and there's about six matches already. Brock and Seth for Universal, Becky versus Ronda versus Charlotte for the Raw Women's, AJ versus Randy, Kurt Angle's final match, Shane versus Miz, and Triple H versus Dave Batista. We actually forgot about that on Raw, where Dave and Batista came out, or Dave Batista came out and challenged Triple H for a match at WrestleMania. It's going to be a no holds barred match. That's going to be exciting. I think it's about time. We kind of felt it coming on the SmackDown reunion where Batista said Triple H has done everything but beat him, which is true.
Personally, I felt that coming more than anything.
Yeah, I think it's exciting. It's good to have him back. They're doing it the right way this time, instead of bringing him back and having him win the Royal Rumble and then have a match at WrestleMania. Everybody wasn't really digging that, but they're doing it right this time, and it's going to be an interesting match. So I think we'll get more into it on our next show, the fourth show, which is going to be about WrestleMania and the predictions there. So hope you guys enjoyed our show this week. Like, subscribe, return. Red Scorpion X Deadly saying, see ya. Happy St. Patty's Day.